What's up, guys? I'm Charlie.
And I'm JC.
And this is C&J Unscripted. So today we found creepy, historical, different stories about places in Michigan that are either haunted in some way or have some, paranormal background to them. One of the stories we have will be a true history story, and then the other one will be some type of urban legend or folklore. So I hope you guys enjoy. The first story will be a history one, and JC will read first.
Okay. So this one is Ghost Stories from Mackinac Island. If anybody doesn't know where Mackinac Island is, it's the very top of the UP. I mean, the very top of the lower peninsula.
We need to give her a history lesson.
I know what I'm talking about. I just said it wrong. And there's a little island off of the lower peninsula, and there's a bridge that connects the two. Anyway. Once fall arrives at the USA's best summer travel destination, a different feeling comes to Mackinac Island. As the crowds thin, the leaves change, and the nightfall comes earlier, the atmosphere can become a bit mysterious or spooky even. No wonder it's the busiest time of the year for the Haunts of Mackinac History Tour. During the 90-minute walking tour that covers about 1 mile at a leisurely pace, a guide tells entertaining stories while leading the group past several haunted sites on Mackinac Island.
That would be interesting.
I think we should go. In a place such as Mackinac Island with so much history, there's no shortage of stories to share. Todd Clements has compiled many of them in his book, Haunts of Mackinac. The book tells of a mother seen weeping over the late 19th century graves of her 2 young children buried in Mackinac Island's Post Cemetery. It speaks of a presence on the Rifle Range Trail that just may be the ghost of the first person executed on Mackinac Island. Among other stories shared in the book are how several of the places to stay on Mackinac Island have reported hauntings of one kind or another, from footsteps in the halls to furniture moving around. There's also the curious case of the oldest building in Michigan, which now houses the kids' quarters at Fort Mackinac. The toys in the room always get put away neatly at night, yet staff sometimes arrive in the morning to find the toys out of place as if they were played with.
That's creepy.
Clements and other guides on the Haunts of Mackinac tour can tell you stories for hours, and even skeptics find them to be a little creepy. There are many accounts of ghosts being seen inside Fort Holmes, the restored British stronghold atop Mackinac Island's highest point. It's a popular spot for stargazing, but many people also have reported seeing 3 soldiers conversing and then poof. They disappear as if they've been startled. Are the soldiers talking about how to combat the ill-fated American attack of Major Andrew Holmes during the War of 1912? Did they perish during the time at the fort, with their remains buried somewhere nearby? No one knows for sure. There's also a story of Lucy, a young girl who reportedly has been seen in many locations on Mackinac Island through the years. She has curly hair and wears a light-colored sundress, and she has been seen following people on the staircase at Crow's Nest Trail by Anne's Tablet, peeking out the windows at Pine Cottage B&B, and on several occasions during Haunts of Mackinac tours. Not much is known of Lucy, either how she died or why she's haunting the island still today. What is known is that the ghosts of Mackinac Island are not menacing in any way. They just appear from time to time, especially in the fall as leaves tumble down the streets and there's an aura of quiet and calm. Maybe they just want to get in on the fun of trick-or-treating and costume parties that happen during the Mackinac Island's Halloween weekend each October. There's no reason to be frightened by any of the ghosts on Mackinac Island, even if you believe they're real, but the Haunts of Mackinac History Tour still makes for a spooky thrill. Then again, so does a hike in the woods of the Mackinac Island State Park after dark. I'll be honest, says Clements, that's scary.
That would be scary.
I think it'd be really cool to do, though. Especially the hike
The
in the woods.
woods.
She would never do it, but I think it would be fun to do.
I'm not sure I can't say that I would never do it, but
She would be like, hold me.
yeah. I'm afraid of the dark. Legit. My story isn't that long, but it is one that is a place that is close to me. I grew up near the area.
She says I like we didn't grow up together.
We grew up near it. We used to go as teenagers. Can't really do that much anymore because people are assholes. And they pretty much destroyed the cemetery. But this is the story of Michigan's ghost town, which is Parashini. So a Michigan ghost town has a reputation for ghostly behavior. Parashini, also known as Sheeny or Center Plains, was a village in Crawford County, Michigan. It was settled by lumberjacks in 1874, but the village was abandoned by 1917. After being established in 1874 by founder George Sheeny, the village received a land grant from the Michigan Central Railroad Company to create a stop along the railroad. The village had a general store, sawmills, a hotel, and a post office. By the 1870s, its population was about 1,500 people. Diphtheria, an infection spread through the air, wiped out much of the population in 1893. While the village was trying to recover, fires broke out, leaving much of the village damaged. The fires were likely caused by sparks from mills behind the village. Disease returned again in 1897, and by 1901, the town's population was only 25. In 1917, the population under 20, the land was sold in a public auction, and Parashini became a ghost town. All that remains today is the Parashini Cemetery, which some call a literal ghost town. The Parashini Cemetery is filled with ghost stories. Perhaps the most popular is the legend of the witch. Local legend says a witch cursed the village. She was banished to the woods, which may blame for the outbreak of disease and the I cannot talk. Disaster. This is what this video is going to be if I can't get it together.
Oh, dang. I should have saved that vine from last video and put it in this one.
And the disastrous fires.
She'll get there eventually.
The cemetery itself contains the graves of about 90 people, one of which is rumored to be the witch's grave. Some people from the surrounding towns set Parashini on fire to prevent the spread of disease, but some believe they were cursed by the witch. She was later hanged from a tree in the cemetery and her body was burned. Visitors to the cemetery have reported seeing ghosts, figures, glowing orbs, lights, and hearing voices. The only vegetation that grows in Parashini is moss. There's an insert here about, it's from somebody who lives, or Michigan native, from Grayling. I'm not going to name just because I'm not really sure, but this person visited the cemetery and she actually documented what she saw. I will post the information in the link below, the caption, but it says, "Is Parashini haunted? I believe that it is, but not to the extent others make it out to be. I've probably been there at least 200 times over the years, and maybe 10 of those times I have had something strange happen to me and others while they were there with me."
200 times going to Parashini is crazy.
Yeah, 200 is a little.
That seems not right.
In the time, I think in the time that we lived up there, I probably went like 10.
I
total.
never went, so
10
I mean,
total.
you live there, I guess. What do I know?
Okay. I have had my car radio switch channels for no reason, which it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
My car not wanting to start at the time. It says she had a 97 Pontiac Grand Prix, and it happened in the spring of 98. A few times we have heard children giggling and laughing very close to the car late at night. One particular time, there were small handprints all over the roof of the car after they left the cemetery. Halloween of 2002, it says herself and 3 others saw an apparition of a woman in a light-colored dress walking through the rear of the cemetery, and then she just disappeared. Never been chased, never saw a witch, never felt like somebody was trying to lynch me. One of the many Parashini stories. The temperature fluctuated from time to time, but it wasn't anything worth writing home about. Says she actually visited the cemetery, or this person, whoever wrote this article, visited the cemetery in the summer of 2020, and all they have to say was a beautiful place, and I did not see any witches or ghosts. But I will tell you, Parashini is, you have to go there to experience it. It's almost one of those, like, if you haven't had a ghost experience, like, I don't know.
That's why I want to go.
There, when we were there, I remember it freaked me out. But there's, obviously the railroad tracks. So there's like the cemetery, a road, and then the railroad tracks. And I was standing like on the other side of the car closest to the tracks, and all I could hear was this like blood curdling screaming. Like a girl screaming, children screaming. And then it was just gone. Never heard it again. It was the only time I ever heard it, and nobody else around me heard it.
That's weird.
But people do say that they hear children playing on the tracks, or they hear like screaming, or people.
Yeah.
But
around Halloween in like 6th grade or 7th grade or something like that, my math teacher would tell us like Parashini paranormal stories like throughout the week leading up until Halloween. But there's people that say like if they stand, I heard this one too, I don't know how true it is, but if they stand on the railroad tracks and look down, they can see like the lights of the train coming at them.
oh,
When it's not a working railroad track anymore, so
Right.
there would be no
Right.
reason for a train to be there. But I've heard that. I've heard about the handprints on the car, like a dusty car, like phone batteries, camera batteries dying even though they were fully charged before they got
Car
there.
batteries for sure. I've had a lot of people I know have called for like jumps.
And they always say not to take like an older car there because you'll just end up getting stuck.
But when we went, it was like, so you walked into the entrance of the cemetery, and then the town itself was like you had to walk through the trail back to it. I doubt you can see it anymore, but I think back in the day you used to be able to see like where the buildings were, like in the ground. But I think it's so grown over anymore that I don't think you can. But it's been a really long time since
I wonder if anybody's ever like fixed it up a little bit, like cut the grass or.
I know that there's
I know
a
a lot of
guy
people,
that
like-
lives around there. Again, this was years ago, but he used to like try to keep the kids out of there because
Yeah, because they would always break headstones and
Yeah.
get drunk and.
Yeah. Why would you do
Yeah.
that?
I hope everybody that did that is getting haunted right now.
Yep. Because
I hope a little girl screams in your dreams
Yep.
or in real life, so you can't tell the difference.
Do you have any cool
Paranormal?
haunted history places in Michigan that you want us to read about, or you want to talk to us about?
We should create a forum.
Let us
for
know.
people
Let us know.
to like put their stories in, and we can read them on another video.
Because I also feel like you could go your whole life and all these people have experiences at places, but you don't. Like,
Yeah,
but
that's
you
how I
have
feel.
experiences where other people don't ever have that experience. So it's
Yeah.
like, it's so different for everyone that it's interesting to read everybody's different
I know. Yeah.
experiences.
I'm not very sensitive to the paranormal, so I feel like paranormal stuff like never happens to me. So like I love to hear other people's stories.
Yeah.
And even when I go to like places like we went to Waverly and I feel like nothing happened to me. And I feel like when we were there, like my ex's sister was like, "Oh, I think someone just touched me," or people get like goosebumps because something's breathing on their neck, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're feeling because I'm not very sensitive at all to it, so things don't ever really happen to me.
I think that I don't allow myself to be because I'm afraid of it.
Maybe.
Like,
I feel like I'm open to it. Like, I want something to happen just so I can have that experience, because I'm kind of like on the edge of like, do I believe in the paranormal and do I not? Because I want to believe that there's some type of afterlife, but nothing's happened, so I don't know if I actually.
yeah.
I don't believe to the extent of like exorcisms and stuff, because I've never experienced anything.
Yeah.
But I definitely, like, if something touched me and made me goosebumps or like breathed in my ear,
Yeah.
something, it would be weird.
It would be really weird. I'd be freaked out.
Yeah, I'd probably cry. Yeah. Okay. Story number 2 is our urban legend. And mine is the legends. I'm so sorry if you hear cats jingling in the background. They don't know how to be quiet. One's eating and one's being a crackhead. My urban legend is of Seven Gables Road. Someone started it, then they told it to someone, then that someone told another friend of a friend who had already heard it from a friend 3 months ago. Seven Gables Road is an excellent example of Michigan urban legend and has been a popular paranormal tale for decades. It's the sort of story that seemingly has no basis in fact, but nevertheless leaves thrill seekers spooked. There are a couple of variations of this legend that I've become familiar with. Not me, but the person writing this. Both involving an old home and a not-so-friendly witch who enjoys cursing people. One version says there used to be an old house at the end of Seven Gables Road, a road that dead ends off of E. Dexter Trail in Dansville, Michigan, Ingham County. It is also the Dansville State Game Area. There are now only walking trails and a rusted old gate where this home used to be. The story is your classic witch who lived in the old homes and cursed Seven Gables Road. The thing about this version is the witch's actual curse, which makes me believe this story got started not because of an old house that may have been on the property, but with the old gate/fence itself at the end of the road. This is the kind of thing that starts urban legends. If the only thing that has existed near that property for decades is a lonely, rusted old gate that leads to apparently nowhere, it needs a story to illustrate why you shouldn't cross it, right? So stories started about the fence, saying the witch cursed it, and that if you ever jumped over the fence and heard a scream, you would die. I guess this is old school home security. But supposedly the witch was foiled by her own curse. She was outside, heard a baby cry from somewhere, felt the need to be nice, and ran in the direction of the crying, therefore jumping over her own fence of doom. She died 2 months later, and it wasn't a very fast-acting curse.
Yikes.
So naturally, 25 years later, a family moves into the witch's home. As if the Amityville horror inspired the events, the man of the house goes insane, kills his family, burns the house down, and then kills himself. Most stories say he hung himself. One story out there even says each dead family member was hanging from one of the gables at the house. Now, of course, none of this is true, but this version has been circling for decades by word of mouth, posted all over internet message boards, web pages, and in more recent times on social media. Another variation of the legend says there was a witch who lived on Seven Gables Road. Of course, she hated the world, cursed her land, and naturally haunts the property to this day. If people dare to venture onto her land and hear a scream, it's a warning to get out of the area or death will follow. Nothing is mentioned about the cursed fence in this version. In her book, Paranormal Lansing, author Nicole Bray talked to a local who had stated the area once had a Michigan rattlesnake infestation, which was one theory explaining why there were numerous stone foundations on the road as people were forced to abandon their homes and move. A story like this could also inspire a cursed land vibe that over time, naturally, there seems to be a constant argument about which foundation belonged to the witch's home. It's easy to see how Seven Gables Road acquired a spooky legend over the years. The road starts out paved and then plunges into a tunnel of thick trees with no homes and dead ends, with a gate so people cannot drive into the state game area. Still, even with no truth to the stories, people have had paranormal experiences and feel there is something unusual going on in that location. Of course, the above are the versions I am familiar with, and like all urban legends, it changes from area to area and person to person. So this one says, a friend of mine heard the legend and went to check it out with a group of people. Everyone was arm in arm as they stepped over the gate and began to walk down the path. About 10 minutes later, they heard a scream and ran back to the gate. Once again, stepping back over the gate arm in arm all at once. When they got into the car and drove off, they looked at some of the pictures and only one really stood out. It was one of the friends posing for the camera, but it looked as though he had wings, and it wasn't windy or too cold outside. Later in the week, after I saw the picture, I decided I wanted to check this place out for myself, thinking they messed with the picture. When we got there, it was like any other creepy place. We stepped over the gate and walked a little bit and began to take some pictures. Everything around seemed very calm. The only thing we heard was heavy breathing that could have been from an animal or from one of us. To me, the only thing that I thought was interesting was that we were the only car tracks in the new snow, but over the gate were so many footprints, and they were not just on the path. The footprints were going down the wooded area and up into the fields. So I was just wondering if you guys have checked this place out or are going to, and what your findings were, or if in fact it is just a legend. We actually went there one time, me, her, and her husband, and we didn't go past the gate because we were kind of scared. But I feel like
Because technically I think it's trespassing.
Probably.
At that point.
Probably. But it was a very creepy vibe. Mm-hmm. But we didn't hear like anything scream or anything like that, so we didn't like jump the gate. But I think it'd be cool to go back, maybe try and take some pictures and see if we can catch anything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know how real the stories are about like the witch and the cursed land and stuff, but it definitely gives off a very creepy vibe.
It does. Because there's like nothing around.
No,
from what I remember,
no houses.
It was just, like,
I think that one house that they talk about is the only house that was really back there. Yeah. Because it's game land, so it's like hunting area.
All right. My urban legend. I've never heard of this one. It's a new one to me. It's called Hell's Bridge.
I feel like I may have, because I used to look up urban legends because that was weird. I just used to read them because they were fun to read.
All right. It says, perhaps the most frightening and gruesome Michigan urban legend myth of them all is Hell's Bridge, a bridge in Rockford, haunted by the spirits of children and demons seeking to wreak havoc on others just as havoc was wreaked on them.
I feel like I've heard this one.
According to the legend, in the late 1800s, children from the town were going missing. The townspeople organized search parties in the forest to look for the missing children, so they left their other children with a man too old to join in on the search, Elias Frisk. Who would leave their children with some random man?
Who leaves their children with a guy named Frisk?
While the townspeople were gone, Frisk tied the children together with a rope, claiming that it would prevent any more of them from getting lost. But then he led them into the forest, and as they ventured further, a horrid smell filled the air. The children asked Mr. Frisk about the stench,
Miss Frizzle.
And he then uncovered the rotting bodies of the missing children.
How do you just stumble upon that shit?
As the children screamed, he killed them one by one and dumped their bodies into the Rouge River. It didn't take townspeople long to realize that Frisk and the children were missing. When they found Frisk, he was covered in blood, repeating, "The devil made me do it." The townspeople hung him off of a nearby bridge, with the rope he'd used to tie the children together, and when the river swelled, it snapped the rope and whisked Frisk's body away.
It's a tongue twister.
Now it's believed that the evil spirits that possessed Frisk, along with the souls of the murdered children, linger in the Rouge River, laughing, screaming, and grabbing the feet of inner tubers as they float down the river, trying to drag them under the current.
Oh, hell no. Mm-mm. Like, Children's laughing and things in the water are like my two biggest fears. Maybe not children's laughing, but like creepy children laughing like in the background. Yeah. But like people grabbing my feet when I'm in the water, absolutely not. No. You traumatize me with that shit. So if I even feel something tickle my foot, I'm out of the water. It could be a fish. Yeah. But no, I'm out.
I don't really like not being able to see the bottom or my feet.
But I also don't like seeing the bottom. I don't like seeing the bottom, but I want to see the bottom. Because, like, what if there's something under there? I can see it? You're going to tell me I'm going to look at it?
Well, when I was in California, we went paddleboarding in the bay. Mm-hmm. And it was dark, like a lake. Mm-hmm. And it was like we were in the lake. But I swear, all I could think about was, please don't let there be a big whale under here.
Oh, wait. Yeah,
please don't let there be a big whale under here. I don't want to get swallowed by a whale. That's all I can think about. I am traumatized from that man getting swallowed and spit out.
No. What was I? Oh, when we go to like kayaking and like, is it the Asabo River in Oscoda? Mm-hmm. That water is just so clear in certain spots that you can see all like the trees and stuff that's underneath of it.
You don't like seeing
I don't like seeing that. But if I were to fall over, because I feel like if I were to fall over, my legs would get caught under there.
It's valid.
And then I can just see that my leg is stuck and I can't do anything about it. So now I'm just panicking twice because I'm panicking that I fell out, and then I'm panicking because I can see the water and something's touching me.
Yeah, I'd just rather not.
I just stick to pools. In my old age, because we used to be such little lake fish, go everywhere, the water, and now I'm like...
I know, I'd rather not. Those are our stories.
That was fun.
Do you guys have any creepy, paranormal,
urban legends that you know about or want us to read about? Because I would definitely do this again.
Or even if you've had a paranormal encounter, we would love to hear about it.
I'm gonna make a Google forum and put it in the description so you can share your scary stories with us.
Yeah, good idea. Yes, comment, like, share your stories with us. Subscribe to our channel. We would love to hear from you.
Do all the things.
Do all the things. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.